Strange New Worlds finally explain why the Klingons trusted Spock in Star Trek VI. In Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, one of the most surprising developments was how much the Klingons trusted Spock, despite decades of mutual animosity between the Federation and the Klingon Empire. It was Spock who orchestrated the historic peace talks following the destruction of the Klingon moon Praxis. He was also the one who extended an olive branch by inviting Chancellor Gorkin to talk peace, even while many Klingons still viewed the Federation as enemies. At the time, this decision felt sudden to many fans. Why Spock? Why would a species known for its warrior code, fierce honor, and hatred for weakness put their trust in a Vulcan, let alone one who served on the flagship of Starfleet? For years, this mystery remained largely unanswered. Now, Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, the prequel series chronicling the adventures of the Enterprise before Kirk, has finally shed light on the reasons behind this crucial element of galactic diplomacy. Through Spock's early interactions with Klingons, his inner conflict between logic and emotion, and a newfound respect he earned in ways viewers never anticipated, Strange New Worlds has provided essential context that makes the events of Star Trek VI more powerful than ever. The road to undiscovered peace. To fully appreciate what Strange New Worlds has revealed, it's worth briefly revisiting the political atmosphere of Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. By the time the movie begins, Praxis has exploded, and the Klingons, facing environmental collapse and economic ruin, are forced to make peace or perish. Spock volunteers to be the Federation's intermediary, initiating peace talks with Chancellor Gorkin and arranging for the Enterprise to escort the Klingon delegation. What made this so unusual was the Klingons' willingness to even speak to a Starfleet officer, let alone engage in diplomacy on his terms. The Klingons were a proud and adversarial race. What could have possibly earned Spock their trust? The answer has been hiding in Strange New Worlds all along, woven into his earliest encounters with the Klingon Empire and the slow-burning respect he cultivated through actions that, while small at the time, reverberated through Klingon memory. Season 2's Under the Cloak of War, Spock gains warrior credibility. One of the most pivotal moments in Strange New Worlds came during the Season 2 episode, Under the Cloak of War, which centered around the fallout from the Klingon War and the controversial arrival of a Klingon defector, Ambassador Dakra, nicknamed the Butcher of Jigel. Spock's interactions with Dakra were more than diplomatic. They were grounded in a Vulcan's complex understanding of honor, logic, and redemption, values that surprisingly resonated with certain factions of Klingon society. Spock didn't shy away from engaging Dakra. Unlike others on the Enterprise who saw only a war criminal, Spock approached the ambassador with the calm detachment of someone seeking truth rather than vengeance. He didn't flinch under pressure, didn't posture, and most importantly, didn't disrespect Dakra's choice to seek redemption. In Klingon terms, that made Spock more honorable than most humans. Even after Dakra's fate was sealed, Spock had already planted the seeds of a new narrative, one in which a Vulcan could stand toe-to-toe with a Klingon and not blink. This, combined with Spock's lack of emotional bias, would have deeply impressed even the most skeptical Klingon leaders. Season 1's Memento Mori, Spock's tactical brilliance. Earlier in Season 1, Strange New Worlds also revealed Spock's aptitude for command and battlefield strategy in the fan-favorite episode Memento Mori. While the episode focused primarily on the Gorn, it was Spock's role in managing life or death scenarios with analytical precision and creative thinking that marked him as a figure of leadership and respect. In Klingon culture, strategy and warfare are respected arts. It's not just about brute strength, it's about tactical prowess, a warrior's mind. Spock's ability to outthink and outmaneuver enemies, even in the heat of chaos, would not have gone unnoticed. This episode demonstrated his capacity for calm under fire and his willingness to make personal sacrifices for the greater good, both traits held in high regard by the Klingons. The word of such a figure would eventually travel, especially among Klingon warriors who value stories of strategic victories and worthy opponents. The Vulcan-Klingon philosophical parallel. Beyond individual episodes, Strange New Worlds has explored an important thematic thread that aligns Vulcan and Klingon cultures in unexpected ways. Both civilizations value honor and tradition. Both look down on emotional excess, albeit from different angles. And both respect personal sacrifice for the collective good. In Strange New Worlds, Spock's journey has been one of constant identity negotiation. As a half-human, half-Vulcan, Spock wrestles with emotion and control, but he also begins to understand the importance of choosing his path rather than being defined by either heritage. Ironically, this mirrors many Klingons' own struggle between the old ways and a modern galaxy. Through respectful engagement with Klingons and a nuanced understanding of their cultural psychology, Spock stood out as someone who saw them not just as enemies, but as people of complexity and depth. By Season 2, Spock had learned to speak from both logic and experience, two things Klingons value when dealing with outsiders. This emerging mutual respect helped pave the road that would eventually allow the Empire to trust him. Trust forged in the shadow of war. Another layer that Strange New Worlds brings to light is Spock's role in the aftermath of the Klingon War. Although Star Trek Discovery dealt with the core events of that conflict, Strange New Worlds has positioned itself as a narrative bridge. Through various interactions, including brief negotiations, cultural exchanges, and crisis scenarios, Spock proves himself time and again as someone who treats Klingons as equals, even when he disagrees with their ethics. In diplomatic and military terms, trust is rarely earned through a single grand gesture. It is earned through small, consistent acts of integrity. Strange New Worlds has offered multiple glimpses into Spock's integrity under pressure, whether facing threats to his crewmates or holding firm to Federation values in morally gray situations. These consistent acts, subtle at the time, laid the groundwork for a long memory among Klingon leaders. In Star Trek VI, when peace was the only option for survival, they remembered not just a name, but a figure of dignity and strength. Pike's influence and Spock's independence. Captain Christopher Pike's mentorship in Strange New Worlds has also been crucial in shaping Spock's sense of moral diplomacy. Pike frequently emphasizes trust, mutual respect, and listening first. These leadership principles have rubbed off on Spock, who applies them even when his Vulcan instincts might suggest a colder approach. Through Pike, Spock learns that commanding respect doesn't mean demanding it, it means earning it. The way he gradually builds his reputation among allies and enemies alike is informed by this lesson, and it explains why, decades later, Klingons would see Spock not as a Federation puppet, but as a free-thinking statesman. From warrior to peacemaker. Perhaps the most striking transformation Strange New Worlds clarifies is how Spock grew from a warrior into a peacemaker. While Vulcans are not typically seen as fighters, Spock has engaged in physical conflict, tactical warfare, and moral standoffs, all of which the Klingons observe and value. But peace, in Klingon philosophy, is not the absence of war, it is the conclusion of war reached through strength. Spock never advocated for peace out of fear or naivety. He did so from a position of strength. He had